All right. Good evening, Corona Days Professional Development Group. It's me, Danette Edwards, the founder of Corona Days Professional Development Group. Thank you all for joining. All right. And you guys are here already. All right. So I am here this evening with Eric Daye. And of course, he's going to talk to us. He has his presentation. But first, we're going with my fun questions. Okay. So if you were here on Monday, you know that I'm asking some just fun questions. Eric doesn't know what I'm going to ask him. You guys should be writing these answers down because I'm going to have a couple of giveaways throughout this Professionals of Excellence series. And so if for the person or persons, there'll be a couple of giveaways, not just one, who have the correct number of questions or answers to the questions that I've asked the guests. We'll have giveaways for you. So the rules. Eric, I'm going to ask you 5 questions now. And then 2 questions at the end of your presentation, the fun questions. You have to select either or, and we will allow you for one question, we will allow you to say both. But once you say both for one, you can't say it for another, okay?
Okay.
All right, ready? Guys, thank you. Thank you for logging in. Okay. So, Yankees or Mets?
Yankees.
Okay. Juniors or the Cheesecake Factory? You can't say neither.
Both of them are kind of whack right now.
You can't say neither. I'm like, I couldn't forget who I'm talking to here. This is a pro.
I'm gonna say Juniors. I'm BK to the fullest.
Oh, okay. Well then, let me give you this: Biggie or Tupac?
I'm Biggie, no question.
Now, don't break my heart with this one. New York Knicks or the Brooklyn Nets?
All right. I might catch some hate. I'm not a basketball fan.
Okay.
But I appreciate them, so I'm going to say the Knicks.
All right. I mean, because I'll still think the Nets of New Jersey. I want to say New Jersey Nets.
That's right. The Nets.
Yeah,
they migrated here. Migrated here. They not original.
Yeah. Okay.
They ain't Bernard King. I'm Bernard King generation.
So I guess I know the answer to this one. Prospect Park or Central Park?
Wow.
Yeah. All right. I thought we would BK all day.
I mean, yeah, but I got
both.
a lot of. I had to say both because I got a lot of love for Central Park, and I live near Prospect Park, so across the street. So
that's your backyard. That's home. All right. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So those were our first 5 guys. We got 2 more coming up later. I'm going to go ahead and tell you a little about what Eric is here to do this evening. Again, this is our Professionals of Excellence series where we're highlighting Black, Latinx, disabled, Asian, Pacific Islander, veterans, diverse ethnicities, people who are disabled, everyone who is not of the dominant class, right? We are highlighting the excellence. And today our Professional of Excellence is Mr. Eric Daye. He's going to share with us and talk about his journey from employee to entrepreneur, taking the leap. All right, so the learning objectives this evening, Eric's going to talk about identifying the value of your skills, product or service, preparation and education, overcoming challenges, remaining flexible when the goal feels unattainable. A little about Eric. So Eric Daye is an executive chef and owner. He's the owner of LOIS and Fats Ice Cream, WTF Desserts, and I believe LLC. And that is not WTF what you think. That is what the falala.
Yes, right? Yes, that's based on my mother's expression of WTF. She always says,
yeah, I always do a little vetting, so I snoop on everybody we have on, and I was like, oh, that's cute. My aunts and my mom used to say sugar honey iced tea. You know what that was, right?
That's right.
So Eric is a chef and entrepreneur. Eric Daye has over 33 years of experience in the culinary industry. He's currently been employed for the past 26 years at a major New York City hotel as a chef tournant. Tournant?
Yeah, chef tournant is basically a roundsman. I can do several different stations and skills, so I don't have like one main focus.
Oh,
So
is
I
that
can
what
do
this?
broiler, pantry, like, cold
Ah,
food prep, sauces,
ah.
whatever.
So
Yeah.
is tournant, is that like something like move around, like turn around or something? Is that what that means?
Yeah, it's a French term. So,
Mhm.
you basically can work all stations.
Okay, perfect. All right, guys.
Hmm.
Eric is well versed in many aspects of kitchen production, including banquets and restaurant service. As an alumnus of Penn State University's renowned ice cream short course, he launched his brand of artisan frozen desserts in 2016 as a growing side business. His attention to detail, creativity, and focus on flavor profiles are his strengths, as well as his love for family style cooking. Eric is also a multimedia creative who has worked as a professional recording engineer and has a hobby in high-end toy design. I want to know all about this, not just the food. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Mr. Daye. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you, and the stage is yours.
Thank you
Oh,
for
guys,
having me. I appreciate the net. Thank you.
yes, thank you. I'm sorry, Eric. Guys, drop those questions as we are going. I'm going to put them up for Eric, and we're going to go from there. All right, then.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you, Danette. Thank you to CDPD for hosting me tonight. It's my pleasure to basically share my experiences and my journey. Um, as I said, going from employee to becoming an entrepreneur, um, it's not an easy leap for anybody to take. Um, some people are more brave than others. Some people are just better suited for um, being an employee. There's nothing bad about any of that. You can still excel and move forward in life, even if you are an employee of a company or a business. You can contribute much to the growth of that and have satisfaction. Myself, I'm the type of person who um, is an artist first. That's where my story begins in general, being an artist first. All things have led um, doors open for me due to being an artist first. Uh, I started my career in culinary uh, professionally on the job at the age of 16. Um, I went to a high school here in New York, Park West High School, where culinary arts was my major. It was a professional program, so during my 4 years there, I was taught several aspects of the culinary industry, from basic cooking and baking, pastry making, meat cutting, even learning how to work the line in the teachers' cafeteria. We had a professional kitchen set up, and the teachers would pay a nominal fee, and the students would cook the food. But they would take orders, so it gave us preparation for what the real world was like. I got my first job at 16, working for a wholesale retail pastry business that sold puff pastry, like the same type of pastry you use for croissants, so to say, among other things. And I worked after school, $3.50 an hour. I'm gonna date it. I'm gonna go back. I mean, I started as someone making $3.50 an hour, and that was the minimum wage at the time. Uh, so through my high school program, basically, they were able to place me in other jobs. And when I graduated, I wanted to continue my education uh, at New York City Technical College here in Brooklyn. I had an option of going to CIA, Culinary Institute of America, or Johnson and Wales, but the money wasn't really there, so I opted to stay here in Brooklyn because they had an excellent program, for culinary arts and hotel restaurant management. And once I got into that, started taking those classes, basically, I got a little disinterested, a little sidetracked. I was more, again, the creative guy. I started out as an artist, like I said, self-taught illustrator, but my art materialized in culinary also, so that's where I was more inclined to be the creatives guy. And then once the business classes took over, I got disinterested in that and started to do advertising design. And that was great. It was very fulfilling for me. But again, it was something that I will bring up a few times in my story is financially, it was frustrating. And I took a leave from college, because I was paying for my own education and working part time. And so it was that struggle, around the age of 19, 20 years old. I really wanted to make my own money. So I got out there and I started, continuing getting more work in the culinary industry, eventually landing at Madison Square Garden when they had major renovations being done to their skybox suites, and they were handling the food service in-house. So I was able to, get a job working at Madison Square Garden between 1990 and 1995, and help open up 3 kitchens and create recipes and preparation processes, for the restaurants and banquets, and just be a part of the team effort. And that is where I got my first exposure to um, really a hard-nosed chef that I had a lot of conflict with, but he was very talented, and he noticed what my talents were, and he actually helped nurture that side of it. So although we had a relationship where we bumped heads most of the time, and sometimes I do think there was racism involved, but at the same time, it was about my skill and my value, that I brought to the team, and that superseded any of those other things. So I eventually got a job working at the Sheraton, um, and so that was something that was a nice breakthrough for me, at least to get into the hotel business and to learn about that end of it. And I'm still currently there. After the pandemic happened, uh, currently it affected me, but I'm unemployed. So that has been a challenge, but not quite so, because I had always, throughout my culinary career, I've always nurtured the things that interested me, um, not necessarily approaching them from the position of, oh, this could be, I can do my own business, or, sell something as a result. It was more about, I have a lot of interests. Let me nurture them. I like to do a lot of research and be involved, and express myself. So once I started doing that, then I started to see other opportunities materialize, which started to encourage me to possibly uh, make a business out of these things. The first journey, because what I'm going to do is basically go over um, the 3 main things that have been a constant in my life um, while I've been cooking professionally and becoming a chef. I've never abandoned them. I've always made time for them. One of the things was music. I was always into hip hop music, hip hop production. I spent a time, writing and rapping and stuff like that, and seeing if I had strong enough skills in that arena. So I put myself out there, for open mics. When it come to learning about music production, I found that I had a lot of talent in that area and an interest in the technology of what makes it happen. So I self-taught myself for many years, um, really from the age of 16 through my 20s, through my mid 20s, especially. Uh, I did a lot of trial and error, buying equipment, reading magazines, reading books, going to music conferences, learning all I could. to put myself around the people in the industry that I wanted to be a part of. For anything you guys are interested in, if you are tethered to a job as an employee, but you're looking to break out, always look at the things that come natural to you. And where your real interest is. Your hobbies can become a career, but sometimes those things also remain a hobby. If they don't materialize enough, or if you feel that there was something that distracted you or discouraged you about them, that you may decided that it's not really something you want to do as a business. So throughout my time of working, again, as an employee, I always had a regular schedule. One of the things that I didn't aspire to was to be a manager. I didn't want to be a manager because I wanted to allow freedom to explore these other things. So that was my choice. And maybe in hindsight, I could have made more money or positioned myself in other ways, but I would never have had the time to nurture the things that I thought would be really valid, just to see if I was capable of playing in different circles. So my first journey that I want to approach is about the music business. I won't spend a lot of time on it, but it was something that, again, anybody out there that is someone that is involved in the music business, whether it's talent or behind the scenes or a technician or business aspect, I spent a lot of time on it. I really tested myself to see if I was worthy of being in that business. And it was a lot of ups and downs, especially just getting people to hear me out or trust in me. So you really had to work hard to be in these circles. So by the time I was about 32, 33 years old, after figuring out that I could no longer self-teach, myself, there was a lot of information that I wasn't getting from my peers, from people that I was meeting, things like that. So I had to, again, I'm always about putting myself in the middle of a situation to test where my knowledge is, where my strengths are. So I decided to go back to school because I never graduated from college. When I dropped out of college, I never went back. I appreciate college, and it's not for everyone also. I'm more of a fan of getting education, specialized education in an area that I'm most interested in, and I could turn that into information that I can use to allow me to grow, or to open up more doors in a business perspective. So at the age of about 33 years old, I attended SAE Institute of Technology, and I did 2,000 hours in about 9 months while working full time. So it was never an issue once I'm focused on something. And I received a diploma in audio technology. And after that diploma, the doors did open, which was really incredible for me because there's a lot of hard work and preparation, and just tinkering and really trying to get noticed for what I was doing. But I started to develop a love for the audio technology part, involved in production, because one thing about that arena, there's not a lot of African American people doing the technical work behind the scenes. We're the talent, we're the producers, we're the singers, the writers, the rappers, the musicians, but there's not a lot of us doing the technical work. So I thought that was great. I always look for an end in that way. What could make me different? What will make me stand out? What are we not doing? What are we not doing? So I think, I tried this out, So once I graduated with a diploma in audio technology from SAE, a fellow student actually was working for Wyclef Jean at a new recording studio that he built called Platinum Sound. and he was working there as an intern, and he was able to get me an interview, and I got the job after a couple of weeks. So I started to work with Wyclef Jean and many famous musicians and personalities through that time. But I worked for free. So I was actually putting in an average of about 80 hours a week on top of working 35 hours full time. That shows you how serious I was about it, that I really wanted to win. I wanted it to happen, and to be amongst, people whose music I enjoyed, who basically were some of the biggest artists of our generation, our current generation. And I mean, I had a chance to work with people like Tom Jones, album credits on his album, like several projects. DJ K Slade's first album, like I was there to see, a large part of the process happen. But again, I was the technician. I was an assistant recording engineer, again, working for free, 100%, running crazy dumb errands and going and buying food and cleaning up, but yet still doing the technical work, at the same time, something that younger people, it seemed to be more situated for, or they think that's where they were at. But me, I was very serious, so I stayed with that. And throughout the process, I learned a great deal. I got to work with some of the best engineers in the business, to learn more about the craft. And it was really a valuable experience for me. But along the way, with the music industry, there's a lot of funny, stuff going on, and, people don't get paid accurately. So instead of me getting into a conflict, I decided to part ways, and move on to the next step, and basically, develop my own outlet. So, one of the main things that I always fall back on is, when there is a challenge, I create another door for myself, or I basically try to utilize the skills that I have, to move forward in that way. So I spent time as a freelance recording engineer, again, while still working on my job. A lot of people may ask, why did I keep the job, or why didn't I take the risk to leave? I've always been about taking calculated risks. And because I had a firm career, and I had a decent salary that allowed me, again, to chase some of the other things that were my interests, or to see what I could develop, I stayed, and maybe, for some people, that's not a cool thing. But for many of you out there, I'm sure a lot of you are in that situation where, yeah, you've been an employee, you like your job, but you may want to leave it, but you're waiting to set up the right outlet before you leave. And that's basically where I began. I originated with doing those kind of things. So with that journey, I basically was seeing that over the years of still continuing in the music business, that I didn't really get love back from it, in the sense that, the money was elusive, opportunities didn't materialize that I really wanted to materialize. I created a podcast that was on from 2004 to 2012, called The 0 Hour. And with the podcast, I basically was using it as a way to expose my skills, and also to introduce to the audience, artists in hip hop that I really admired and I thought was the next generation, coming. So I did that for 8 years, and that was great, but I didn't really know how to monetize it. It was like many things that's going on today, I understand now. But at the time, I really began to get frustrated with it. And I walked away from that aspect in terms of making it a pursuit, an active pursuit. It's something that, again, that started as a hobby and a love. I became professional with it. And then, also because I have my culinary background, it was easier for me to say, you know what, this is not really turning out in the way that I needed for me to materialize. So I'm going to move forward, and maybe one day regroup and pick it up. Now, where I am with the ice cream, with LOIS and Fats ice cream, being an artisanal ice cream maker, that once again was that was something that initially doing a food-based business I pushed back on, as although I've been a chef for so many years and it's been such a big part of my life. I know too much of the ins and outs of the culinary business, and some things didn't appeal to me in terms of doing a business from it. But the ice cream actually became something of a passion for me because I love ice cream. And with anything culinary, I always try to recreate the foods that I enjoy eating, going out to enjoy. And so if I like to try to make it, it's just a personal challenge. I don't always think of, I'm gonna make a business out of it, or I'm gonna get good and specialize at that. No, it's just more about, I just want to try it out. Again, it's that artistic core of who I am. I like to challenge myself and just be creative. So in 2014, my wife bought me a Cuisinart ice cream machine. It's a home ice cream machine, so I could experiment. It was something I always wanted to try. So I waited a few months, and then I finally picked it up, and I started to experiment with different recipes from books that she bought me, and I didn't like the recipes, and I can diagnose a lot of recipes from books and see that certain things are left out or not explained well. So the experiments didn't really come out right, and I wasn't getting what I wanted from it. So I started to do my own research. Once again, doing your own research, getting your education about something that you want to get into, whether it is a business or something you're interested in. That's a big deal for me, and I always, push that, with all my friends and any of my peers and, people that I know, if there's something that you enjoy, dig, research. We have the internet like we've never had before. Everything is on YouTube right now. So, I mean, at the time that I was, digging, I came across some recipes and some concepts of how to make ice cream. So I adjusted them. And I combined that with using my own knowledge of recipes and how food works, food chemistry, basically, and I created my own recipe. And once I started to let people try it, and again, I had a built-in test market because I worked with chefs all day and people who would tell you if the food is no good. It wasn't about they know me, and they basically, will give me props on something that wasn't good, and no, they would tell you hands down if it wasn't good or not. And it also the benefit of working in a New York City hotel. It really allowed me to work with a diverse group of people from all walks of life, different cultures. That was important, so I understood how my flavor profile would come across to different types of people. So once I started to bring the ice cream into work and let my friends try it and some family try it, people they wanted to buy it, and I wasn't intending on selling it. I was just testing it out. So I'd say between 2014 through 2016, I would do periodic sales during like Thanksgiving and Christmas. I would just basically offer the ice cream, sell maybe about 60 pints, during the holidays, offer maybe, 2 or 3 flavors the most. And people really responded extremely well. I mean, as soon as they tasted it, they were ready to buy it. And that became a recurring theme. The first time they tried it, they was ready to spend money. that was really one of the first things I noticed in my life, that I had something that was different from anything else that I presented to people in terms of a good or service or something I did that they would respond to, especially when they're ready to spend money with you. Like, that was important to really notice that. So the reaction and the feedback was unnatural. Like, I really didn't expect it, for what I did, just out of fun. So after doing more research, I found out that Penn State had a ice cream program. I'm class of 124. So at the time, it was 124 years that they were offering this ice cream short course where they taught you the business of making ice cream. I didn't realize that Penn State was one of the oldest dairy colleges in America. So that was another bonus, so I was going, for the right thing. So I made it happen. I made it happen. And I decided to go to Penn State to take this ice cream short course. It was only for about 9 days, 7 to 9 days, 13 hours a day, basically. And I didn't learn hands-on, but it was about 135 of us. And we learned the ins and outs and the business of making ice cream, which it opened up the whole world to me. So I got to meet people who were already in the industry, people who were aspiring to do the same thing as myself. One of the things that I did notice, there weren't a lot of people who were culinarians who were going into the ice cream field. You had a lot of people from other businesses and other fields that were interested in doing ice cream, which I thought was kind of odd, that there weren't more people who had a culinary background who were interested in expanding it with ice cream. So as I started to communicate with them and talk about, different approaches I have to the ice cream, I discovered that they were a little surprised at my approach because I came with the head of being a chef, so I already worked banquets and understood about, mass production, large quantity, commercial production, things like that, So the concepts that they were teaching us, really, I adopted pretty easily. I understood it. So after I completed the course in 2016, I incorporated LOIS and Fats ice cream. I incorporated as WTF Desserts LLC to make a general umbrella because, I can bake also and I do other desserts. So in case I wanted to expand, so LOIS and Fats ice cream actually was an offshoot of WTF Desserts LLC, but it was my launching pad. And LOIS and Fats came from the names of my mother and father's family nicknames. And I named the ice cream in honor of them because they were the catalyst for me becoming a chef, in the sense that they were great cooks in the families. In both sides of the family, they both can cook really well. Our home, should I say, was the center of many holiday dinners with big family gatherings. So people were always really happy to enjoy my mom's cooking, especially. And she taught me, how to make the foods that she made. So started there, but I had been cooking really from time I was 8 years old, just as a hobby. I was always an overweight kid. I stayed in the house a lot. So that's what I adopted. That's what the skill really began on that level. But LOIS and Fats ice cream was named in honor of them because I was able to initially translate the flavor of some of my mother's southern desserts into ice cream. Like her sweet potato pie, I translated into a sweet potato pecan ice cream. She doesn't put pecans in her sweet potato pie, but I made the base of the ice cream taste exactly like her sweet potato pie, using real yams and the same spices and ingredients that she relied on to make her sweet potato pie. And then I used um, pecan brittle inside to complement the sweet potato ice cream. Her banana pudding was one of the family favorites. So I turned that into a southern banana pudding ice cream using, real Nilla wafer cookies. For those that know traditional banana pudding, some of the best cookies, in my opinion, is the Nabisco Nilla wafers. So, I incorporated those familiar flavors into the ice cream, but I use caramelized bananas in the base. So I was able to bring out these flavors that even when my mother tried it, when people tried it that know her cooking, they say, "Oh my God, it tastes just like it." One of my earlier flavors was coquito ice cream. I'm a big fan of coquito. If you're not familiar, coquito is a Puerto Rican holiday drink made from coconut milk and vanilla and rum, cinnamon. So I wanted to translate that into an ice cream, So once I made that, again, that was something that I brought to my coworkers, many Latino coworkers, Dominican, South American, Puerto Rican, like all in the hotel, So I was able to let them try it and say, "Hey, man, does this taste authentic? Does this taste like the real thing?" And that's what I always went for. So yes, that was successful for me. So again, I was starting to get traction, from the flavors I was beginning to offer. Doing a play on almond joy. My flavor is almond joyous, using roasted almonds and dark chocolate chips, shredded coconut, amaretto, and rum. So I was doing things from the approach of using my flavor profiles, using some of my culinary skills to boost the ice cream. And again, through the process of starting LOIS and Fats to today, it's been a challenge. I never really had the finances to start a business. I always carried a lot of debt. I'm going to be real. I'm going to tell the truth. A lot of us are in the same position, and us being Americans, a lot of people in general, but especially African Americans, sometimes you don't have the resources to launch a business. You might have a great idea. It begins with resources from your families. Maybe your families didn't plan or didn't teach you. Maybe they didn't know about how to manage money or save money properly or invest and things like that. So, but I had the product, and that was the most important. So, what I would do is, to the best of my ability, again, I didn't know business that well either, but I knew how to make the product. So I, in turn, decided to get official, have labels made. So I had a friend and a fellow artist make a label for me, and it was his idea to go with the gold foil and black on the label, which brought a lot of attention with when I started to introduce the ice cream. And I will begin to do sales again seasonally during holidays. Each year from 2016 through 2020, I would offer, sales during the major holidays. So anytime between 4 or 5 times a year, I may offer a run of sales. And I would do pints only, delivery, I would offer. And I worked alone, basically, I made the ice cream. I made my own base. I froze the ice cream. I made the mix-ins where appropriate. So if I had cake in the ice cream, like say my strawberry shortcake ice cream with lemon cake, I initially started with having a friend make the cake for me because I loved her cake. But then I started to make my own cake to put into the strawberry shortcake ice cream, So these kind of things, I would do all the preparation, do the packing of the pints. My wife would help where she could. But it was largely myself taking the orders, doing things through social media, not really getting the business out there too broadly because I knew what my limits were, so I basically focused on growing a dedicated customer base. It was small, but dedicated. Like people were repeat buyers, always looking for me, always told their friends, always shared with their friends, always shared with their family. The blessing came from when they would try the ice cream or allow other people to try it, they became a customer usually instantly. That was again exciting to be able to have a product that people responded to without hesitation. So what I would do, through the process again of doing the sales, I would notate, what flavors would work, and sometimes shift them out. I will offer sometimes 7 or 8 flavors at a time. Again, this is myself making the product, packing the product, taking the orders, delivering it to people's door directly. But I created these relationships, with my customers with, they would see this is the guy who's making the product. I put the love into it all the time. You can taste the love. That was a common feedback that I would receive. So within the process, there were a few other variables that I had to figure out, like scaling up and working with professional equipment. The Penn State course, again, was not hands-on, so to say. So I found a course at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, which I believe is the oldest dairy college in America. And they had a batch freezer course. And batch freezer is basically the type of machine you use to produce ice cream in a volume. It's a batch freezer. So I took that course. It was a 3-day intensive course. And that was in 2017, the following year. So through that time, over a 3-day period, I had a chance to make about 30 different types of flavors, understand the process about production, to really understand it and identify the type of equipment that I would prefer to use once I'm able to scale up and have my own space, my own production kitchen. So all of that was important, highly important, because I think one of the mistakes that many people do, especially small business, is that it's great to take a leap and do this business, but you need to be prepared. You need to understand what you're getting into. There's nothing wrong with taking time to do the research. There's nothing wrong with going back to school to take a class to understand the industry. Even if you spend time, again, I'm a chef of over 33 years, but I still needed to go back to school to learn about ice cream. I didn't know how to make ice cream. I didn't understand the ins and outs. I didn't understand the challenges of this thing. So I had to really go in and understand what it was. And I put myself in the environment to learn these things. Being an African-American person doing ice cream is a rare thing. There are not many people in this country doing ice cream that are Black men or women. Very, very small amount of people. So I thought that was encouraging too. You know what I mean? That would bring attention to what I'm doing. So one of the things that I have to say is taking the time out to get that education has really, showed me that it needs to be more of us that take risks to try new things. At the Penn State course, I was 1 out of 5 African-American people out of 135 students. At the University of Wisconsin-Madison, at the batch freezer course, it was only 12 students. I was the only African-American in that class. I got some attention, of course. People were wondering like what brought me there for this kind of thing. So I did enjoy that too, and another validating moment came within that batch freezer course was when on our last day, we had the opportunity to make whatever flavor we wanted to make and really show our creativity. So I decided to do my sweet potato pecan ice cream, which intrigued the professors at the university, my classmates. Everybody was shocked about what I was going to do because, again, I said I'm using real yams, real sweet potatoes, and I had to incorporate and buy the product. I didn't show them exactly how I made it. I was hiding some of my measurements, but I produced the ice cream. It was the hit of the week, hands down. And this is not me saying this to hype myself, but this was confirmation. I was pulled aside and told that I had a hit on my hands, that I had something that was extremely positive and that didn't taste like anything they tried before. So when I left that, it gave me much more encouragement to continue this journey with the ice cream, and really try to get this thing out here in a proper way. One thing that I didn't do was have more business education. Again, I'm the creative guy. You need business education. There's no kind of way that you're going to succeed without taking some time to understand basic business concepts, basic accounting techniques, credit, understanding these things, just business structure, of course, writing a business plan. And that was always intimidating for me because usually when I saw business plans, they were about like this thick, and it was about a bunch of fantasy numbers and things and projections. And I was kind of turned off. So I didn't spend enough time at that initially of doing that. Along the way, with the ice cream, since I didn't have much money to really launch this, what I did was I decided that I would just keep it going, keep doing my small sales, keep getting it into the hands of customers, keep nurturing that, just really refining my product, refining my recipes, always taking notes, always keeping a database of, what things cost, things like that. So I would just be ready. So a friend introduced me to a gentleman who was an African-American gentleman who was a career restaurateur. And she thought that it would be great for him to try my product and let's see what doors may open for me from trying the products. So once I had a meeting with him, the same thing happened as always. People would taste the product, they would stare at me and taste it again, and they would say, what are you doing with this? Like, are you selling this? Or what do you, they were always super excited when they tried the ice cream. So I really enjoyed that validation, especially for someone who had a long, decades-long career in the culinary industry, from front of the house, primarily. This was a gentleman who was involved with the Shark Bar. He was involved with Sean Puffy Combs, Justin's restaurant. He was involved with getting these things really off the ground and nurturing them. And these were really hot spots in New York during the 90s, especially. And so I was really enthused about working with this gentleman, and he, immediately he wanted to partner up with me. Since I didn't have my own money, I decided that I think I'd like to do it. But I also did my research, and I retained a lawyer. That was my first step, because I wasn't as familiar with the ins and outs of the business and being in partnerships. So I decided to, get a lawyer. I paid the lawyer a couple of sessions, about 2 or 3 sessions privately between us, where he just coached me on how to negotiate, how to understand what to expect during the partnership, how to figure out the value of my business. So again, I paid for more education, just to not go in blindly. So before I even brought him to the table, I sat with the lawyer, so that, and I didn't tell my potential partner what I was doing. He knew. I confessed to him that I never operated a business like this, although I had a firm background in the culinary industry. But it was something that I wanted to come in on the low. Like, I didn't really want him to know that I had a little more knowledge than he thought, and I tend to do that. That's something I keep in my pocket, is always to come prepared if I'm going to talk to another businessman. Not always reveal, the level of knowledge I have. I like to feign a little ignorance, to some respect, just to see how people treat me. That's important. That's just something that's just part of me, from life experience. So once we started to kind of move and work out negotiations to do business, because he had a food court in Newark that he was taking over, and he had space for myself and another gentleman, and it would be 3 outlets within the food court. So I really felt extremely excited, because now I'll be able to have a partner to take off some of the slack, help me understand more the front of the house business aspects, and be able to be in a prime position, because the food court was connected to Newark Penn Station, and Newark Penn Station, had the New Jersey Transit and the buses, trains, Amtrak, everything coming through there. So it was a major transportation hub. So it was awesome to be able to, operate from that. As the negotiations between us continued, I noticed that as a partner, he was looking for a financial interest in my business, but he wasn't really actively leading me in the business. And I had to confront him, and I said, hey man, we doing business together. Like, why are you not giving me certain knowledge or heads up on things as we are moving? And he told me that was my responsibility, which I didn't like that response. If we're doing business together, and if you have a little more knowledge in a certain area, you should be sharing that knowledge with your partner, especially if you have a shared goal for success. Don't you want to have each other on the same page? So it was one of those kind of things. So I did take it more upon myself to figure things out, how to, my business being incorporated in New York, and having to transfer, the business to operate out of New Jersey. Like, these are things I had to do on my own. He didn't tell me anything. He didn't, certain laws and in terms of food service and sanitation, Department of Health. I found all these things out on my own. He didn't guide me in those things, which were, again, starting the beginning of warning signs, So long story short, we also had a conflict with the name, LOIS and Fats, ice cream. So he didn't really like that. And, so I said, you know what? We both agreed to part ways. And I wasn't too upset about that. But what hurt was that I had minimum amount of capital, a minimum amount of money. My mother helped me out, with about $5,000. And, I had to use this money for legal fees and paying the lawyer and all these other things to set up to begin operation, at this food court. So I wound up losing $5,000 during the process, and it made me pretty angry. It made me disappointed. But it was a part of doing the business and taking the risk. It's one of those things. You're going to lose money somewhere. But I didn't regret the knowledge that I gained through the process, because I have a great lawyer that I still retain from time to time. I trust him because he was honest with me the whole way, and he was trying to protect me and educate me at the same time. So I took those lessons, establishing business and partnerships with me. So after that, I basically continued on the path, and again, I got a great product. I still kept selling, during the holidays and things like that. Growing the customer base, the demand was increasing, and I started to feel like I really need to get this operation running, like in a professional capacity. Largely, I was producing the product from home using 3 Cuisinart machines. So the same original Cuisinart, I wound up buying 2 more and developed a manufacturing process from home. But that was getting tiring. I was getting discouraged. All the work that I was doing independently, alone, like I didn't have any partners. It was getting really stressful. And I couldn't pay anyone to help me. The money I was making, I was barely clearing. And a part of that came from also not charging enough for my product. And there's a main reason behind that, for where I underprice my product so that it can be an introduction so people could adopt to it. The average artisanal ice cream business here in New York, my competitors, for a pint of ice cream could be anywhere from $10 to $13, especially at the time. The prices have adjusted lately, but still the average of about 10, 11, 12 bucks, going to some of the brands that people know in this New York City area, Van Leeuwen, Ample Hills, to name a few, Ice and Vice, another local spot that I really admire. So that was something that, again, I knew, but my audience was everyday people, from people from all walks of life, all financial backgrounds. I wasn't trying to appeal to the people who could spend $12 and $13 a pint on ice cream. I wanted average people to have access to it. So I started to charge about $8 to $9 a pint. A few people questioned it, until they tasted it. And then it was on, but it was a great buy-in price. My product cost a little, about half that to make. It cost me about $4.75 to make a pint of ice cream. And we're talking about ingredients, packaging, labels, and only thing I left out was my labor, which I learned later on. You have to incorporate your labor also to that price point. So either way, the ice cream would sell out. If I made 250 pints, it was gone. People were buying. My average customer buy-in was $24 because if I were to do delivery, I said it was a 3-pint minimum. So that way I was able to control what and steer my customers into spending a minimum amount, with me. But that 3-pint minimum turned into an average of 6 to 8, 12 to 15 pints per customer. And it was because, again, they were sharing the product with other people, or they were buying on behalf of of their friends and family. So I may sell to one person, but then they're distributing it out to other people, and I gain new fans and new customers through that method. So that was extremely great for me. But I also knew that I would have to eventually raise the pricing once I opened a professional environment to produce this ice cream. But my end goal was really to try to keep it at that, that cost. That price, should I say? If $9 to $10 basically is the maximum I'm shooting for nowadays. Currently, that's the price point that I like to keep it open at, so it keeps it more accessible. I didn't want to go the route of doing ice cream in the supermarkets, commercial frozen pints. I didn't want to do that because my business is structured as a chef who's bringing his chef experience to the world of ice cream. So I wanted to be more hands-on. Like this is the way I see the product, but continue to sell pints. I wasn't interested in doing a scoop shop. There's different trains of thought that feel that you can make a lot of money doing a scoop shop, and you can, selling scoops, but that's also a seasonal thing. So you're affected by off-season months, the winter time and things like that. So one of the things that people will always say to me, well, ice cream is not a year-round business. And I would dispute them instantly because ice cream is $1 billion industry, And the majority of consumers buy ice cream in pints from supermarkets. Supermarket sales are all year round, anytime, take home. So those are the things that I was aspiring to, but more on an independent, sort of say high end, artisanal capacity. So I wanted to only sell pints, but again, pints where I use fresh ingredients, clean label ingredients, no artificial colors, no artificial flavors, like those kind of things, using real fruits and vegetables, whatever it is, using plant milks, again, making my own cakes or cookies, or my wife made great cookies, so I had her make the cookies for my Cookie Monster flavor, which became extremely popular. With 3 different types of cookies inside, and the ice cream is blue colored, so it looks like the Cookie Monster. So these kind of things, like I really started to explore. So I wanted to do that, and so I always maintained that selling pints was extremely viable. So flash forward to coronavirus and the pandemic, and all these stores being shuttered, all these businesses being shuttered, all these ice cream shops not operating, scoop shops no longer viable, right? They don't want to sell anything that's open, so everything had to be packaged in containers. So a lot of ice cream businesses had to pivot and begin focusing on pints. I was already there. They started to see that the pints were selling oftentimes, at the pace, in terms of revenue, at the pace that they were selling scoops. So people were accustomed to coming up, pick up, take home, picking it up. I had, so these kind of things, and deliveries started to increase, with ice cream. So I know that I already was in position. I am in position to do these things, so it's been another validation for me. And again, so where I'm at currently is that when I mentioned that I didn't have the business knowledge, I came across another friend, shout out to Barbara Barron. She became a mentor for me. And she's one of my business mentors, so she basically became someone to coach me about business practices, general business practices, resources that I can tap into. I had joined Rutgers University's SBDC department over in Newark, because I was going to open in Newark a business. So I wound up getting free education initially through their SBDC Center, their Small Business Development Center at Rutgers University. So I started with them. But Barbara Barron suggested that I do and register with Columbia University here in New York. They had the same program. So once I did that, it was much more robust. It was more accessible to me. I got a great counselor, and they have been coaching me for the past almost 3 years now. And it's been exceptional. And we're talking about free education, free guidance. They will hold your hand no matter what issue that you're going through, and that was invaluable. So I say to many people out here who are looking to start a business, or, even to be a better business person if you're already operating. Check out your local SBDC, your Small Business Development Centers. Most of them are situated within universities. So I was able to get refinement. I was able to understand a new method of writing a business plan. They had Columbia University for their business school. They were showing their students how to make a business canvas, a small business canvas. So that was a different concept, where it was less of the extended projections and long form business plan concept, more about bullet points, action plans, things like that, more reality. So I was able to format my business plan with their help, um, use their guidance to repair my credit, which is something that I'm still actively doing, you know, and being an employee, again, is benefits of me being an employee while I'm still in this journey to migrate full time away, because my plan, and it's going to happen, is to leave that industry, that company. I'm going to work for myself. It's in the cards. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of, I took my time because I invested so many years. I wanted to have a pension vested because I was already close to 25 years. Before, as I was developing the ice cream, so I said, let me spend a little bit more time. People talk to me, and convince me that, you know what, man, like, at least lock it in. I'm not of age to collect on a pension, but it's nice to be able to say I can walk away from a job that I invested this amount of time in, and there will be a pension available for me to accept when it's time. While I still am young enough to go out here and pursue other ventures and work for myself finally, which is what I wanted to do. So that was really important also, and again, identifying when to take that leap. Some people are more brave, or they take more risks. Sometimes I doubt it. Should I have taken the risk earlier? But your journey is your journey. I'm also a martial artist. That's something else. That's another part of my life. And my martial art instructor always tells me, it's your journey. It's your time. So, I'm a purple belt after, over 8 years of being into martial arts. I have about 3 belts ahead of me before I become black. But there are people who were with me at the same time, who started the classes the same time, and they're way ahead of me. And sometimes I started to feel like, hey, I'm not catching up. I'm not keeping up. But it's about my personal journey, my personal time. So I'm not in a race. And I always have to remind myself of these things when I get frustrated and when I'm feeling insecure about the process, is that, what, it's on my time, but I am taking steps. And each year I do progress further than the last, so that's extremely important to me. And right now, my main focus has been on acquiring capital, has been on improving my credit. Um, I don't want a partner necessarily. I didn't want, at least I want something to be natural if I do have a partner, because sometimes it's lonely doing this kind of thing on your own. It's nice I like to work in a team. That's the kind of world I come from. I work from a team aspect, being in the kitchen, in the culinary world, so doing business, it's nice to have a team. It's nice to have somebody to play off of, but I haven't really had that. And oftentimes, including present time, I get frustrated and doubtful, of how far can I go alone. And I'm always reminded again by my counselors at Columbia University and my business mentor Barbara. I'm not alone. I have people in my circle that can help me, and so I try to tap into those things to have them, to utilize them to help me move forward when I feel these doubtful times. Or I'm also thinking of ways to pivot. How do I change the mission, but still the same end result? I still get the product out there. So I'm on that path right now too. A lot of my customers, they support me. Sometimes they're impatient. Sometimes they question, why am I not producing the product? But in the days of this pandemic and coronavirus, I know we can still do food businesses at home. But I prefer not to do that anymore. I want to be in a licensed production facility, a production environment that I can operate, protect myself, protect my customers, protect any of my employees, make a quality product. In the dairy industry, because I also make non-dairy, vegan frozen desserts as well, but my primary product is dairy. So within dairy, there's a lot of associated challenges. It's not easy to start up a business processing dairy. So again, I'm working my way through it and kind of tuning out some of the pressure, because again, it's still my process. I understand the several layers that are needed to operate a frozen dessert business, and and I have a certain vision for the way I want to execute. So I'm taking the time I need. Due to again, initially starting out with bad credit for most of my career, I've really improved on it, since the pandemic, been able to save money, been able to pay off over 80% of my debt, been able to raise my credit score, like taking these steps before I move fully forward, before I go for these loans. I want to be sure that I can lock in the best interest rates, so I'm not going to go out there and just take the money. I'm not going to take on an investor who doesn't understand the process, that you're not going to get paid back right away. A lot of people, want to throw money at me, but they don't quite understand business, and I don't want their money if they don't understand that it takes time to develop, it takes time to grow, have the right agreements in place, so I just don't want anybody's money. So my main goal has been to accrue my own capital, improve my own credit, angle for my own loans, and then if I need additional capital, seek out these investors, do a crowdfunding, whatever it takes. I don't want to do these kind of things until I can prove that I raise my own capital and my own resources to really execute this. So that's been a huge part of where I'm at today, and it's a continuing process. So it's a struggle, but it's rewarding, for the aspect that I've seen constant validation of the product, and again, that came from test marketing, but test marketing through people closest to me, and it turned into an extended base of people I don't know, because that's what you want. You want people who don't know you, who don't have any relationship with you, to be able to try your product or your service, and validate those things. So take the time to identify what it is, try it out, and then you can move forward. So lastly, I want to speak about my current journey, which is turning my hobby.
Eric, before you go there, let me ask you some ice cream questions.
Yes, no problem.
We got some ice cream questions, okay? So Atia wants to know, have you thought about a food truck?
I've thought about a food truck, but again, there are different challenges with working on a food truck. It's not as simple as, I can get a truck, do a build out, offer the service. The number one challenge is always manufacturing. I am a manufacturer first. So without manufacturing in place, I can't do other things. So my main goal is manufacturing first, and then I can move to a food truck or have somebody operate that, or someone operate a scoop shop or doing things like that. But it costs a lot of money for food trucks. We're talking about $80,000 and up, because it also has to be formatted in a way that the health department can have access to it. Being a person working in dairy, you're overseen by Department of Agriculture additionally. So you don't just have Department of Health. So you have a lot of standards in place that you need to adhere to. Also in New York, it's not easy to have a place to park, because that's also, again, you got to have licensing through the city, and they're going to control where you park that truck. You can't just drive up and pull over and serve ice cream. That it doesn't work like that all the time. You know what I mean? So there are other challenges with doing that.
Yeah, and even when you have that license, you're gonna have to fight that food truck that was already there.
That's right. There's a lot of competition on the streets, yes. So it's not impossible, But this is not like catering food. It is still a specialized food product, and that's what makes this different. If I was just cooking and catering and doing a food truck and I'm cooking regular food, I'd have done it already. You know what I mean? That's too easy.
Mm-hmm. Rhonda says, are you thinking about other types of desserts? So novelties and cakes and other frozen desserts?
Oh, yes. Ice cream novelties is a big business because with that, we're doing pops, ice cream sandwiches, ice cream in a cup. You're looking at an average of a 3 to 4 ounce serving, but you may be able to get anywhere from $4 to $5 or more for that. So you get to make more money. A pint has 16 ounces. So think about that. You're selling a 4 ounce product for the price of a commercial supermarket pint.
Wow.
So there's a lot of things. And so, yeah, those things are in my wheelhouse. Again, it's about manufacturing first, getting the space to operate.
So Therese says, I'm wondering how you translate that price raise to your customer in this next phase. So once you have to increase your prices, how do you communicate that to your loyal customers?
Well, that's the thing. Again, my customer base doesn't always understand what it takes to operate a business. And that's not any fault or a complaint. It's just facts, So when they go out and they buy other goods and services, and if there's a complaint about the pricing, they really don't have an idea that you're paying for the space to work to operate out of. You're paying for inventory. You're paying for employees. You're paying for packaging. So all of these things have to be factored into the overall end price. It has to be. So as much as I like to retain my price, that's not realistic because, again, I lost money at the price point I started with. But the only other way, like when people compare, they say, well, there's ice cream in the supermarket that's like $5 and $6 a pint. That's a mass-produced product out of a factory. I'm making the product. Okay, that's a difference, and you can taste the difference. So therefore, you have to pay an adjusted rate for it. But I am still focused on figuring out a way that even when I'm at the position of scaling up, can I keep this price accessible? Because really, it had been undersold, for what I was doing. Like I said, if people really understood the amount of work that I put into that pint before it got to your hands, I was wildly underselling, but what it was, I didn't mind because I wanted to kind of lure you in. And I didn't really understand. I didn't have the knowledge.
Many entrepreneurs have that same challenge. So Christina says, when are you going to start selling ice cream again? Any idea? I know you're waiting for the kitchen.
That is it's an ongoing thing because with the way that I worked to execute the ice cream, again, entirely stressful. People see my smile when I show up at your door and when I greet you, but behind that smile, like, there's a lot of stress and a lot of time. And because I don't want to go that route, I basically refuse to go that route. It's grown beyond that capacity. I need to be in a professional environment to produce larger quantities of product, make it more available year round. That's where my effort is going. So it's about getting the capital. It's about getting the resources and the access. Commercial kitchen spaces they're not always equipped for ice cream, for one thing, again, because it's specialized. Again, people don't understand that. It's a specialized environment that you need to be in to produce ice cream. And also shared kitchen costs can be very expensive because now you need to pay additional fees for storage. You got to store your inventory. They may start you out with a minimum amount of freezer, refrigeration space, dry shelf storage, whatever the case may be. But as you need more space, you're paying more money. And so therefore, I have to figure out what's worth it to me. Do I go that route, or do I focus my energy on establishing my own base of operations? And one of the great things about what I'm doing looking forward, since I make my own formula, is to have a dairy make and process my base based on my specifications. Therefore, that would take a step of the process away from me, because one of the things about processing dairy, if you're using multiple forms of dairy, you're supposed to pasteurize them, even if they all are originally pasteurized. So if you're using milk, cream, and let's say you put in yogurt in it, because frozen yogurt is not just yogurt. Frozen yogurt is yogurt, milk, and cream. Cream is in it. There's fat in it. You need it. So 3 different sources of dairy need to be repasteurized. And a lot of dairy operators operate from raw milk, things like that. If you're using condensed milk and heavy cream, or you still got to repasteurize these things. So some operators and some of my peers, they have pasteurizers on site. That adds another price. You know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to get away from that and keep it simple. Have a dairy process my formula, and then have a place to freeze it, cook the ingredients, and manufacture from there. Then distribution happens.
I'm sorry, I was muted. Because I live in downtown Baltimore, so it's always something going on here. Okay, like, yeah.
All right.
So I'm not going to start with the questions, but I just want to tell you, Eric, I am so glad. Latricia, thank you for the connection that you've come this evening. I think so much of what you've shared tonight, and you're going to keep talking about the third piece, but so much of what you've experienced is what entrepreneurs experience, who are like us, Black, brown, different, right? Right. That we, in terms of not having the knowledge, not having the access, not having the capital or access to the capital or the credit or other people who have that knowledge. I say it all the time, but I love this story. And it's not the end. And I love that we're on it with you. So we get to bring you back again and hear some more. So I'm gonna throw it back to you. I'm gonna come off, guys. So I'm gonna come off. No more ice cream questions to the end, okay? We're gonna talk about something else now.
This last part is brief, but it's basically where I'm at today. I just wanted to also share, again, coming back to the beginning. I'm an artist first, right? So a lot of my moves and dreams have been due to expressing wherever my art is to be expressed, wherever I find my muse. And one of the things where I'm at today is I have a hobby in high-end toy design, right? Now, when I say high-end toys, there is a facet of toy collecting in a scale they call 1/6 scale, right? 1/6 or 1/6, 1/6 scale. And there's some figures I have behind me. I may bring one up close. But these are figures that are about 12 to 13 inches tall, fully clothed, fully posable. They may represent characters from film and television or sports personalities and things like that. So I got into collecting those. I've always been into toys. I'm a comic book guy. Again, all of that. That's all my background. Anybody that knows me. So with toys, I've always been, a collector and admirer of toys. And my wife and I both enjoy these figures, So when we met, there was something like of a pastime for us, and we would really research it and investigate, and then again start to collect them. So once I started to collect and get into an arena with fellow collectors, which I found on Facebook. They have Facebook groups that are full of thousands of collectors from around the world who enjoy the same thing, and they share their figures and, and their creativity. And I started to become exposed to custom figures. So these customs were basically figures in the same vein of what I was seeing commercially, but there were creatives and artists who were helping to facilitate figures of things that don't exist on the marketplace, but for the collector, direct to the collector. These customs can cost anywhere from, $800 to $1,200. Like, these are works of art. These are people who hand sculpted or digitally sculpted the faces and the heads that go on these figures, that tailored the clothing from images. You could supply some of these people with images of just what you want the clothing to look like, and they will recreate it at the scale that is almost unimaginable. So I started to get into that world and collect these figures and buy into a lot of these projects. And then, like most collectors, we start to create our own. And I started to do my own figures, or at least begin to direct other artists in what I wanted to see. So I became an art director for figures that I wanted to see happen. I started to be more hands-on, doing things creatively myself. I started to style them, come up with the concept of the look, like these kind of things. So it has turned into a situation where now I'm starting to spearhead my own projects, and really just get my work out there. You can check out my work, with the ice cream. Check me out on Instagram at LOIS and Facts, LOISANDFATS. If you want to see what I'm doing with my toy journey and my hobby collection, check out at Seventh Brother Toys. That's at 7, as in number 7, THBROTHER _toys, TOYS. So you can see more about what I'm talking about. But I'm going to show a quick image. 1 second. Here, I made a concept piece of a figure that was based on a Japanese animation called Afro Samurai, right? Basically, there was an artist who made the head sculpt from France, and a few years ago, and I finally finished it by painting. I wanted to really, again, give it some dimension and texture. I added real hair to the figure and made an afro on the hair. Made articulated wired headband. Found an artist to make the clothing and the sword, online. Basically, creatively directed this output of what this looks like. Because the end result in my goal is to bring more toys and figures like these and others in the image of more African American personalities, more people of color, more Latinos. A lot of the figures in the marketplace were basically like, the average superhero figure, or, some actors, white actors and things like that. Most of these toys are made in Asia, in China. So they often don't see a viable marketplace for African American subjects. So there's very little of them out there. So my goal has always was to make my own version of these figures for my own collection, and if it opens other doors, that's fine. You know what I mean? That's just a bonus, but I want to make what I want to see. It's the same thing with the ice cream. I want to make what I want to eat. Same exact thing, So with this thing, it actually showed me that I could play in that arena on a serious level, because last year while we still in the pandemic, but while I'm off and home during the pandemic, I aligned myself with a few other collectors, and we had a mission of, making some projects, some personalities we want to see as figures, as collectibles, just for ourselves. And along the way, we got the attention of a gentleman from the toy industry, a Black man that was a over decade-long veteran of Hasbro and Mattel toys, and also a hip hop personality from an artist from the 90s who had a few hit records and still active in the business today behind the scenes. So five Black men got together to have the ambition of creating a toy company, which was something that I had to keep quiet because it was in development, and there were some major players who were interested in what we had, and it came from the visuals of what myself and my other fellow collector was working on independently on our own, and what we executed, and we got the attention of this gentleman that was a professional from Hasbro and Mattel. He was extremely excited. He felt he had the same vision. But his attention came from the hip hop artist first. So the hip hop artist was the one who knew him. So once he saw what we was working on, the next door opened, and we decided to do a business. And we built a business on paper, and started the journey. And I can say that we got the attention of a television production company from Netflix. We got the attention from one of the largest online toy distributors in America. We got attention from various potential investors. I had a meeting with an angel investor who was a former Knicks player, Baron Davis. So I got access to these kind of people, and that was a part of the journey. But unfortunately, there was some business conflicts. Again, sometimes, we don't always work well together, and that's a shame. And that is why it's important that we all keep an education or maintain good business practices, so that we can grow together, even if it's in a team effort. So it didn't work out, and I had to remove myself, which was a disappointment, but it was a eureka moment, basically, just like everything else that has happened to me. Going to audio engineering school, and getting the job, working with Wyclef Jean, and working in their recording studio, working with, incredible artists on that level. It was validation, having my ice cream and having people try it and instantly throwing money at me and wanted to buy the product, and people wanted to do business with me off the cuff of one tasting was validation. Each step of the way, some kind of validation is what I use to see if this was something that was viable for me to conduct a business. It always started with passion, love, just basically identifying what I'm good at, and then doing research, figuring out, is this something that I could do? So I implore anyone out there who is looking to start a business. First, I will say it's okay if you're an employee for somebody. It's okay. Ain't nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. There is no pressure to run away from your job if that's who you are. If you're somebody who is braver to just take that leap and take all the risk, and without risk there's no reward, right? But I like to take calculated risk, and that's what I've been doing the majority of my life, and the door is still open for me. But it's also my preparation, my planning, that really dictates how far I can navigate the next few steps. So I honestly tell everyone, if you're going to do it, go out there, try it out, Put yourself in the environment to learn about the industry that you're doing. Put yourself around the people who are doing it. Read about it. Buy the books. Buy the education if you have to buy the education. You don't have to get a degree in it. You can just take a continuing education course, something to introduce you to it to see if you want to go further. If you want a degree, go do that, you know? But yes, like Danielle, I see posted here, pay your dues, you know, and that's what I have been doing is just being a part of things and allowing things to naturally materialize to see where I am today. And again, I'm still learning, always figuring out a new way or aligning myself with someone else who I think may add value to my goals. So, you know, that's basically in a nutshell what I'm about. You know, I have options. I got other skills I've developed. I can move in different directions, you know, but my primary focus right now is the ice cream, you know, but my main challenge is the capital and the funding and things like that. And what's going on today that's extremely promising is that between the federal government, between all these independent organizations offering grants for African Americans, for minorities, you know, for women, this is incredible. There's a lot of money out there. But here's one challenge that I've been seeing from my position, like doing my search on grants. You know, there are not a lot of grants that are designed for Black men. I'm not looking for a grant for Black men because they already have African American grants, you know, for African American business people, should I say, small business. But there are 3 to 1 more grants available for women, especially Black women. There are so many new grants, you know, and as I understand it and as I see, Black women make up the bulk of African American businesses in the United States. You know, and I think it's about 53% in terms of ownership, you know, between Black men and Black women. So it's curious to me why there aren't more Black men that's trying to get out there. And I'm loving the fact that, you know, Black women are out there doing it and laying the standard, and also inspiring everyone, you know. But it's been a challenge basically to find a grant that I can apply for because there's a couple of things, you know. I'm not a woman, you know. Also, I don't have employees. That's another obstacle. You know, some of these grants are designed for people with employees of 3 to 5 or more. You know, I don't have any. I work for myself, so certain grants I'm boxed out of. The grants again that I'm seeing for amazing, but I Google it. You Google business grants for African American women, dozens of links. You Google business grants for African American men, you just see business grants for African American. So, you know, there's a lot of competition out there, and it's a little tough, but that should not stop you. It doesn't stop me. I still keep investigating. I still keep doing the research, but there are these challenges out there, you know. So any Black men out there that's doing business, stay encouraged, you know, keep focused. There are people out there who will help you, and, you know, always again, have your education and your resources lined up, you know, not financially all the time, but just having good people in your corner, you know, just seeking out the right information that'll empower you, you know, so that we all can move forward, you know. And I'm a firm believer in each one teach one. You know, if I learn something, I'm readily giving it back, you know, to someone that's in my circle, especially that needs the information. I have a lot of young Black men that have started their businesses, and they look to me for answers because they know that I'm serious and that I've spent the time, you know. But I steer them. If I don't give them the outright answer, I steer them in a direction where they can get the answers and figure out their own methods and approach and things like that. So that's incredibly important to me. We all should be offering something. We're not competing with each other. We might do something in the same marketplace, but it's going back to the Penn State ice cream course that I took. The day of the orientation, Professor Roberts, he basically, said to everyone, you all must talk to each other. You all must meet and stay in contact and help each other. Although we're in a similar industry, we're not competitive. We always, someone is not necessarily reinventing the wheel in every aspect. So your challenges may be with someone else's, and they can pass it on to the next one. I want to see anyone succeed. So if you do better than I do off of information that I've given you, then I succeeded. I just ask that you do the same thing. You help someone else. You tell someone else. You just point them in the right direction if necessary. So I always give back. I'm really, really big on each one, teach one. That is a huge thing for me. Some people, sure, don't deserve the knowledge in the sense that they don't do anything with it. But if you know someone who is very serious and they just need that guidance, just put a little something in their ear. Give them a little lead and then see where they go. If they hungry for more, give them more, But this is where we all need to be. Black, white, Latino, Asian, friends, family. If I have the knowledge, I'm going to give it to you. If you in my circle, you're part of my team. Even if you're a stranger I met online, I may give you a lead because I got so many leads from people online just chatting with strangers. Never be afraid to ask. That's the world we live in today. So I apparently, this is the new world. Okay, so utilize it. We never had this access. I come from Encyclopedia Britannica days. You know what I'm saying? So going to the library to find information. You can log on and find anything, any instructional video. So there is a way to overcome these things. So let's continue to support each other.
Oh, I love it.
Ready, I'm here.
I love it. I love it, Eric. Let me put this up. I don't think I did that one. That was our last comment.
And I know I'm going overtime, Ms. C's.
That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The people stayed. It doesn't, as long as the people are here, and even if they weren't, you got something to say, somebody would have stayed. They're here. They're still on. So they must like what you have had, what you've said this evening. Yeah. Thank you. So I'm gonna go to my fun questions real quick. No. Yeah, let me go to my fun questions real quick.
Okay, that's cool.
Before I got two more. You have 5. I got 2 more, guys, and then I'm gonna go to my questions. So if you have any questions as I'm doing my fun questions, drop those into the chat, please. So I had some others, but based on my little investigation, I changed it. So and some things you said, Spider-Man or Batman?
Spider-Man. I'm a Marvel guy.
Oh, you're a Marvel guy. All right. Luke Cage or Shaft?
Hold on.
Now, guys, I asked this question because I know something. That's Luke Cage.
Luke Cage, baby.
You pick Luke Cage over Shaft? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's what you got. Okay. Luke Cage.
Mm-hmm. Luke Cage.
All right. Luke Cage. All right. Those are our last.
Yeah, the bulletproof man.
Oh, those are our last 2 fun questions, guys. That is beautiful too. That Luke Cage doll. You call him a doll or figure? Luke Cage, you pick.
That's figures. I mean, people joke and they say, "Oh, you got dolls." I'm like, it doesn't bother me because I know their works are art, and when people see them in person, they lose their mind.
I can imagine.
It doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me at all.
You guys have to check out the IG page. That's how I changed my questions because of the page. I was going to go with Bishop or Luke Cage. And I was like, that's no comparison. That's not a good comparison.
Right.
So I have my questions. I'm not going to ask the marginalization question because I think you gave us a number of ways you've been marginalized. Not access to information, not access to capital, not knowing in that situation with your business partner. Like those are all ways to be marginalized. So I'm not going to ask the marginalization question because, like you said, it was threaded through your chat.
Yeah.
So, but I am going to ask you my other two questions. So, guys, if you have any questions, you know you got to drop them. One is if you can go back in time and tap a younger Eric on the shoulder, what would you say to him?
I would say take risks earlier. That's what I would say.
Take risks.
Because there was a period of time I was complacent as an employee. Although my heart really was into doing my own thing for a long time, you know, and there was fear, and which I'm sure a lot of people out there have that fear. And again, I was able to manage it by pursuing the outside ventures while still maintaining my gig. Mm-hmm. You know, if I couldn't do both, I probably would have taken the risk faster if I wasn't, if I didn't have a consistent job or something like that, or consistent salary.
I love it. So I'm going to my last question, guys. I just want to say a couple of things. So you know that your mom is here, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you've seen her on the broadcast? Okay.
I set her up. She was trying to get logged in before everything.
Okay, I just want to say, all right, so Mrs. Daye is here. So I just want to let you know that she was a couple of your family members are here. Your big sister is here. I think your cousin. Yeah, your auntie is here. A couple of people here. So they all came out to support. I'm going to my final question, but I want to say, so we just opened this series up Monday. This started out with me wanting to highlight Black men of excellence. I wanted to do 30 Black men in 30 days. That's what I wanted to do, because we have hosted about 80 presentations, a little over 80, and only 5 of those have been Black men. And I know that Black men are operating in excellence every day, and they're doing amazing. Mrs. Daye in the house. All right now. All right, Mrs. Daye.
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah, she dropped a couple of them for you. I put them up on the screen. You gotta have to catch them on a replay. I'm gonna send you the video.
I definitely will. I would love to see what everybody's comments were.
You got some good comments. And I just wanted to highlight Black men of excellence. I was speaking to a particular Black man, and I thought young Black man, I think he started doing what he's doing at 27, and I think he's about 31, 32. And I just said, I would have never known about you. People need to know what you're doing, and the fact that he started doing it. Oh, I'm sorry, Auntie Christina. All right now, Auntie Christina, I'm sorry.
That's all good.
Yes. And then I said, there are other Black men doing amazing stuff that I don't know about. And if I don't know, not that I'm Oprah or anybody I'm supposed to know, but if I don't know, there's so many other people who don't know. Like, I was so amazed. I've been telling people, I found a Black gourmet artisanal ice cream maker. How about I got a Black, from Latricia, you might be connected to him, I don't know. I got a Black chocolate maker, luxury chocolate maker. I can't afford to buy chocolate from him, okay? He's coming on. So, people need to know that we are in these spaces and places and we're doing this work. And so I commend you for the work that you're doing. I thank you for taking those calculated risks, right? Because you could have got that Cuisinart from your wife and just been making ice cream for your family on holidays, right?
Absolutely.
So I appreciate that. I understand a lot of the sacrifice, and I just appreciate you being here this evening to demonstrate your excellence. So that's where the series came from. And then I said, well, wait a minute. everybody has excellence, so we just, all of us. So our mission is that we work to increase workplace representation of people from marginalized and BIPOC groups in workplaces, whatever they define that as. That could be self-employment, side hustles, traditional W-2. We want more of us doing it. So I think you said, I want to make what I want to make what I want to see, right? Yes. There are so many of us that we want to do what we never see ourselves doing, right? Or worse, some of us who don't think that. And if they don't see people like you, they will never do it, right? So that's, like they don't have that vision that you had. Like they don't have that to say, oh, it ain't none of us doing it. I want to do it, right? And so we need to give it to them. And so that's why we're here this evening. That's why we're having this series. And so this is just excellence. We just gonna pepper LinkedIn and Facebook and YouTube with Black, Latinx, Asian, Pacific Islander, any other ethnicity. If I missed you, come get me. Veterans, LGBTQIA, we're just going to pepper these social media spaces with our excellence. So anyone who's watching this now on the replay, what you can do is, if you found any kind of value in what you've seen here tonight, all you need to do is share this. Just hit send, hit share on whatever social media platform you're watching this on. Just share it. Now you could do a little more. You could connect with Eric. If you have something to pour in, you could connect him with someone else, right? But if you say there's nothing I can do, you can do that. If you clicked on here and you got on, well, maybe Mrs. Daye can't, right? Because maybe her son got to do that for her. You set mama up, right?
Well, she's the lowest in fat, so her name is on the label.
Yeah, so I'm sure she's telling everybody though. She probably told more people than I could on these social media streets, right? But you can share this. That's what you could do. So that's how you can. That could be your each one teach one. If you feel like you don't have, there's nothing that you can do to pour into or to support Eric and or this series. But if you can support, right? So something. Some of the areas that Eric said that he has been challenged in, and you can support. Come on. Get into that inbox. He's on LinkedIn. Email me if you're not on LinkedIn and you know someone who could help, or you yourself can help. If you have anyone that you could connect him with, right? Come on, let's do it. So that's my call, for everyone who's watching this now on the replay. And again, I'm thanking you, Eric, and I'm going to go to my last question, guys. So culinary.
Thank you so much, so very much, because I've been.
Wait a minute.
I feel like I've been operating in silence, or people know, behind the scenes, and I'm not looking for glory, but it's nice to be able to at least explain to people that I know there has to be others like me that are just struggling with it, but they still keep going. And I'm blessed with a lot of talents, and I just want to, make a business or continue to follow the path of my life, wherever it leads me, however it's expressed. That's all I'm doing. I'm not doing anything fancy.
Well, I see the other Mrs. Daye is up here. What's your wife's first name?
Her name is Beth.
Beth. Okay. She's up here. She's beyond lucky to have him in her life 24/7 as her husband. She posted up Eric is truly a Renaissance man. I love it.
That's what a lot of my friends call me that, because like I said, I'm a martial artist. I do a lot of things.
You're doing it all. It's a lot.
I do a lot of things, but also I don't have children. So that's another thing. I do understand the family structure, and that takes away a lot from people. But because I don't have any children, that time has been invested in my pursuits, myself, my goals, my ambition, nurturing these things. So I don't waste that free time.
I hear you. And all that each one teach one, that's a lot, right? That's a lot.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of pouring into other people, and I'm sure some of them are youth. All right, guys, remember, if you found any kind of value in this evening, share it. Just share it wherever you are right now. Just hit that send button and share it. All right, this is my final question. You shared a lot this evening, Eric.
Yeah.
Even the martial arts people, everybody came out for you. Even the martial arts people came out, aka Sunny.
Yeah, no doubt. That's
Everybody
my family too.
Oh, okay, that's family too. Okay.
Yeah, man, that's one of my seniors, man. AKA Sunny. What's up, Sunny?
You shared a lot. If anybody watching right now or on a replay, if they have one takeaway from everything that you shared tonight, what would you want that to be? One takeaway.
Each one teach one. Each one teach one. I stand by that. No matter what happens, the education that you impart or the experience you share with somebody else can open up some other door in their life that even they didn't expect. Sometimes it's nice to drop a jewel on somebody, drop a gem, and walk away. Like, you might not even remember me, but I gave you something that you could use, because people gave me stuff many, many times, and I never forget it. But enough of us don't share the process. They don't tell it. You know, like, what is it to hide? If there's a salary that maybe I'm not aware of, tell me how much you really get paid. I mean, some people, that's sensitive to some people, but sometimes you need guidance to know what to ask for or what to go for. So the right person asks you the question, you give them an answer. You give them some guidance. You give them a lead. You give them a link. I'm constantly doing that. I do it every day, literally every day. There's not some information I haven't shared with somebody, and if I come across it, because I'm naturally curious. So if I come across it, I automatically think of who could use that. If I'm just reading in passing, who could use it? Oh, and I just text it real quick. Yo, dude, you need to look at this. And then I let it go, and I just keep going. That's each one teach one.
That sounds familiar. I do that all the time. Like,
all the time.
Yeah, I just read this. Who needs this? Who should I connect with this? Share the process. I love it. That's
right. Share the process. It's a must. This is where we fail sometimes, you know, because we think too much about keeping up with the Joneses or the competition thing. You know, I don't want that person to get bigger than me. So what? If I gave you information that empowered you to do better than I did, I'm proud, because whether you give me credit or not, I made that happen too. I was a part of that, you know, and it'll come back to me in some karmic way.
Make the connection, Danielle. All right, make the connection. I love it. Eric is on LinkedIn. Get in that box. All right, guys, you know, I thank you all. This is our longest live, but that's okay. I don't care. Like I tell everybody, if the people stay, the people stay.
I didn't even look at the clock. I was like, oh my God.
Look,
thank you. Thank you.
We all have a story inside of us. We got to get out. I don't care, you know, unless they shut us down or we stop streaming, we good. So we So right, thank you, Eric. We will host you again. So whenever you're ready, you know, with something happen, you want to share, you learn something else that you'd like to share with us, come on, let me know. We'll bring you back on.
I would appreciate that. And I appreciate the platform. This is great.
Just let me know.
You know. Absolutely. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
And then someone said that your wife does something too. So maybe she might want to come out for my excellence series. I'm not sure what.
Oh yeah.
But
no, my wife is a fashion illustrator.
All right. Yes. Okay. So
she works for one of the biggest American fashion houses in this country.
All right, Beth. All right. So the Black women of Excellence series is May in honor of Mother's Day. So
yeah, she has a great story.
Connect me with your wife so we can bring her on.
She's an art director. She's an art director, so she definitely has a nice story to tell, especially being an African-American woman in the fashion industry.
I could imagine. All right, Mrs. Daye, Beth, I'm looking forward to it. All right. So you guys know it's over. I thank you all for coming out. And you know what I'm getting ready to say, because I'm old school like that, from New York. That? Thank y'all for coming out. God bless you and good night.
Good night.